So you think I'm not bipolar? I wouldn't usually make a video like this, but I've got this driving force inside of me right now to make this video. It is currently 1:23 AM in the morning. Fuck it. So this video has been inspired by a real life event. Real life event being something that's happened in my personal life that's really grinded my gears. Something has well and truly pissed me off. It actually takes a lot to offend me, but when it comes to my mental health, it's something in which I see as a more vulnerable side of myself as a person. It's not even a side of me, it's a part of me. A vulnerability. For you to say, I'm not bipolar, this thing that happened earlier on this evening, it's upset me on an incredibly deep level, but it's not the first time that I have been insulted in this way. Rather than me get into a full-blown argument with this person that really insulted me, I decided I would just make a video about it. Why not turn something really negative that happened to me into something positive for all of you guys and the rest of the internet? Because if this makes a difference in a tiny way, or to at least one person, then it was well worth it in my eyes. I just thought I would put all of this raw anger and emotion into a video. Bipolar or not, whatever your mental illness is, this video is dedicated to each and every single one of you that has had to deal with this. So this person that's insulted me doesn't even really know me very well in order to make such a strong, bold judgment. I don't see them very much, don't know the person very well, but I've always treated this person with a lot of respect, especially because he's older than me. I'm Jess, and I have a mood disorder. That mood disorder is bipolar disorder, as many of you will already know if you've been on this channel for a while. To put it very simply, I experience extreme highs and lows. I am very rarely in between. I have to battle with negative thoughts each and every single day, and I have had to rearrange so many different aspects of myself as an individual, my life, my views, my emotions, and I've had to pretty much take part every single part of my being in order to be the best person that I can be and the person that I want to be, all while suffering with the unpredictability of my moods. Sometimes I can sense when I'm transitioning from one mood to another, and sometimes I can't. Bipolar is not black and white. Now, this particular individual that inspired this video seems to think that all bipolar people are the same. This person's backup to saying that I was not bipolar was, I lived with someone who was bipolar. You are not bipolar, you are attention seeking. This was then followed with, but who am I to say I'm not a doctor? Congratulations, mate, you're not a fucking doctor, and I think that you would definitely benefit from the links that I have included in the down bar, as well as anybody else that wants to click on this video. I don't think he seems to understand the vast difference between each and every single individual on this planet and their disorder, their diagnosis. Here I've got a selection of letters from my mental health team. Dear Jessica, we would like to invite you to your care planning meeting. Here we've got another care planning meeting. You are welcome to bring a friend, relative or carer to your meeting if you wish, and your GP will be informed of your meeting. Here again we've got quizzes I have to regularly fill out. As much as I want to show you guys each and every letter, but in this folder here I've also got various records of my mental health over the past few years, on how I was first diagnosed with cyclothymia, and then later on in life thought I had bipolar 2 disorder, so they re-diagnosed me and said it was bipolar 2. Now, with a lot of the changes within me, there's a lot of speculation that it's actually bipolar 1. So I've got all of that in this folder. Add a little bit more proof to me being in the mental health system. I know my subscribers don't need to see letters to believe that I have bipolar disorder, because it's evident in my channel. The evidence is there. I've always been 100% real with you guys, and a lot of you can detect what kind of mood or what kind of phase I'm in by my videos. I love you guys and I appreciate your support so much. The sad truth in all of this is there is still going to be people out there that are going to think they have the right to dictate whether or not they believe you have a mental illness. I don't see who supports mental health stigma. This is the thing. And the people supporting mental health stigma seem to believe that because you can't get exact proof like you can with, say for example, if you have HIV, they'll check your T-cell count and stuff like that. With bipolar disorder, I don't see any kind of bipolar evidence anywhere apart from specific symptoms and fitting within certain balances, and there's a lot to it with science and psychiatry, and they know what they're doing quite evidently, and I'm not saying that they don't. What I'm trying to tell you is people that aren't psychiatrists and aren't doctors and aren't in that field cannot tell you whether or not you have a mental illness. The only person that can tell you you have a mental illness is somebody who can appropriately diagnose you, aka a doctor. A doctor that specifies in mental health. They can tell you whether or not you have a mental illness. This person turned around out of nowhere and attacked me on my bipolar disorder. Now, one thing I cannot understand when it comes to people like this is, why would I make up the fact I have bipolar disorder? What is there to gain? Do people that have bipolar disorder get paid more? Are we more popular? Oh, quite the contrary, because most people, like a lot of people, still believe that people with bipolar disorder are unreliable, can't trust them, or they're gonna lash out at you, or they're unpredictable, so they might attack you. There's so much stigma, but we're all different. We're so different. Who is one person to tell me or to tell you you're faking your mental illness? I've got the proof, I've got the paper, but I shouldn't have to prove it. No one should, and you shouldn't either. I'm currently waiting for psychotherapy, and it's been a long wait. I was promised that I would get psychotherapy last summer, but it did not happen, so I'm still waiting for that. I was also prescribed Valium. I am still dibbling and dabbling with the thought of whether or not I should consider medication before psychotherapy, because psychotherapy is taking so long. But that is a personal decision that I'm trying to make at the moment based on more interactions with my mental health team on what we decide is the next step for me personally. Every day is a fucking battle. I have to battle with some demons, and while some are dressed up and seem rather inviting, rather comforting, they all manifest themselves eventually into negativity. Everything with bipolar disorder is like a mood illusion. Sometimes when I start talking, I can't stop talking, and it's like I feel so talkative to the point where I'm agitated and I've got so much energy and I don't know what to do with it. There's so many different aspects to my bipolar disorder, so many different elements. No two bipolar people are the same. One thing that's really, 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 really hard to cope with is the sheer low after feeling so high up there, and to have lost count how many times I've had suicidal thoughts. It's not something I'm proud of, it's not something to gloat about. It's not something I go shouting from the top of the roof. It's not something that I think makes me cool or different. I'm not comfortable with how comfortable I am with death and the possibility of death when I feel that way. Right now in this mood, I am not comfortable with how comfortable I am with the thought of how meaningless my life is in that state of mind, and how everything is black. And I would not wish that feeling on anybody. Then to feel such elation to the point where I have all this creative impulse and I have all of these possibilities, and all of a sudden I can focus on 50 different things, when prior to this I was struggling to focus on one. And that in itself is a gift and feels magical, but it's a curse, because like every roller coaster, it has to come to an end. And once you've done the loop-de-loop 5 times and you've had all the adrenaline rushes and you're feeling excited, ecstatic, proud, overwhelmed with happiness, and creativity is just flowing through your brain and your body, and you can express yourself in a way in which you could never have expressed yourself before, and all of a sudden you're just at this inner peace and you feel this just inner perfection. Nobody actually knows what the cause of bipolar disorder is. They say there's a lot of different things that have to factor into it. Say for example, you're more likely to have bipolar disorder if it runs in your family, stressful life events, self-esteem problems, brain chemistry. I was first diagnosed with cyclothymia when I was a teenager. I suffered from bouts of depression and elation throughout my childhood, but I put this down to having argumentative parents that didn't love each other anymore and lots of conflict at home. Then when I felt happy and hyperactive, like the world couldn't touch me, I just put that down to me being a kid with ADHD, because I'd been diagnosed with this prior. A rocky relationship with my mother, who I was always seeking approval from, always seeking that acceptance and that love, and to just finally feel at home within that aspect of my life while all the stress was going on, while being bullied at school. It wasn't a good start for me in the first place, with all of this craziness going on, when I had this horrible, horrible week as a teenager, which I often relate back to, and there was just a consequence of really terrible events, which I won't go into detail now, which ended in me trying to commit suicide, and I was only a teenager. I had my whole life ahead of me. Athena did not exist. I would have never ever known what it was like to have held my own child in my arms, and I was already ready to throw it all away like that. The switch flicked, and all of a sudden, from that point onwards in my life, everything started to become more intense. So it just kind of feels as though over the years I've moved from different aspects of bipolar, so now I'm just a little bit confused as to which one I am. The different people that I spoke to, there was a person I recently spoke to at the Bolton Sanctuary, and he drew a diagram for me. He was incredibly helpful, and he basically had manic at the top, depression at the bottom, and normal in between. And then he pretty much explained what being in my presence was like, how I'd ended up there in the first place, and all of that into a diagram. And there's a very similar diagram that I will link down below. Really would check out her channel. It's full of all sorts of really awesome videos, varying lots of different mental illnesses. I would definitely check that out. And if you've got like a relative or somebody that doesn't understand but is willing to open up and not just judge you, sit there with them and maybe watch one of those videos, because they're very educating. Click those links and watch those videos. And also, if you want to understand me on a deeper level without me having to explain all the ins and outs of bipolar disorder, then please just check those links out down below, guys, because in a way that helps you guys kind of understand what it is that I deal with on a day-to-day basis as well. The older that I've got, it's like more intense everything has become, all of my emotions and things like that. I never used to really experience this agitation inside of me that could eat me alive, and I just feel like, oh, fuck, and there's nothing that can kind of control that in the moment. I'm getting angry and more and agitated, and if it happens for no reason that I start to feel that agitation, I can fix it. I can do something about it. If it's that kind of agitation that has been caused by, like, let's say an outer force, like I have specific triggers that really affect me, and then if I am in that mood, it can spiral out of control, and that's when self-harm occurs. That's when I'm more likely to slap myself, to punch myself, pull my hair out, scratch myself. Variety of things I'm not proud of at all. This is the reality of bipolar disorder. You guys know I stand on self-harm. I haven't properly self-harmed in a really long time, which I'm proud of. However, I have self-harmed in other ways. You can self-harm with a variety of different things. Problem I have personally is self-harm as in hitting myself and banging my head against the wall when it gets to that point, but it takes a lot to get me to that point. And that's something that I've been working incredibly hard on managing, because there's a lot of self-hatred towards myself because of certain childhood trauma and certain things that have been said to me, which have then become psychological triggers. All of the psychology is so complicated, and that's why it's very important to remember that we're all so different. You could be watching this and have bipolar disorder, and just because I'm bipolar doesn't mean we've got all the same symptoms. Like, you could experience mild manic episodes, you could experience mild hypomania, whereas I experience hypomania and now I experience mania. So it's like, it's a very broad spectrum, even though it looks like it's not very broad. I'm gonna make more videos going into detail about this, but I just felt like I really wanted to speak about this right now. So I hope all of this makes sense. Usually I'm more on the higher wavelength of things. I think I tend to be more fast paced. I tend to be more up there and more productive and more, I have to force myself to slow down. I have a tendency to experience increased excitement and increased adrenaline. When I got a tattoo, for example, and also when I fell off my bike yesterday, which I'll do a story time about, those two things should have hurt, but instead sent me on a massive high. Now, a lot of people get highs from getting tattoos and stuff, don't get me wrong. Falling off my bike, however, like, I probably should not have reacted by laughing for about 2 hours straight. It was so funny, and then once I started to come down from that mood, I was in fucking agony, and I was like, shit, why didn't I feel this earlier? It's like, being in that mood almost numbs you, and it's like, if I was in that mood and I hadn't have fallen off my bike, it still would have had the same kind of pattern. Like, I feel awesome, oh my god, the world is fucking abysmal, I feel horrible, I want to hide and run away, I don't like any of this is horrible. It's all your fault, Jess, it's all your fault. Why would anybody lie about having this? I have to have a lot of mental and physical restraint to keep myself on the straight and narrow, and to also try and better myself as a person and always improve my mental health to the best of my ability, because that is my decision that I've chosen, and I always remind myself of how important it is to try and keep myself there even when I just feel like that's it, I'm going now, or fucking fuck this, I need to just keep myself on my bike, going straight, because temptation is everywhere for people with bipolar disorder, depending on their mood. I often have to cycle over this bridge to get to my house, and the bridge is actually a motorway bridge, and it's somewhere I actually tried to jump off of. Quite an obstacle for me to pass this bridge. Sometimes I stop and just kind of soak in the noises of the cars passing, and sometimes I have to cycle really fast over the bridge because I get overwhelmed with anxiety and remember. And sometimes I can look at the cars passing and just be like listening to music and staring at them and thinking, they're beautiful, aren't they? Wow, I'd love to get home and do a painting of that. And then the colours come alive and everything is beautiful and amazing. It's crazy because even though bipolar has its benefits, shall we say, it's a curse almost, because I will always be this way. I will always experience these feelings. At the end of the day, you know yourself better than anybody else. And one of the hardest things to come to terms with is receiving the diagnosis that you have a mental illness. To turn around and say that I'm not bipolar when I've had to learn to live with this illness. But the hardest thing I had to do was to accept that I was bipolar. And it didn't take days, it did not take months, it took years before I fucking told anybody. It was a long time, did not want anybody to know. I thought I was damaged goods, thought I was going crazy, and I'd also witnessed what mental illness can do by seeing it firsthand in my family, so why would I create a mirage? Some of the hardest videos I've had to make are the videos that have touched people and helped people out there like me. It would all be for nothing if it was a mirage. One of the positives of me having this curse or this illness is my ability to have helped people. I really wanted to make this video because I really wanted this video to reach other people that have had their friends, their family, teachers, bullies, anybody turn around and think that they can re-diagnose you as an insult. Tell them to fuck off. Skip this video all the way to the bloody end when I've just turned around and said fuck off, and just play it from there over and over and over and over again. Fuck off, fuck off, fuck off. So you're just like pressing the same flipping number on the keypad, and it's just like fuck off, fuck off, fuck off. So at the end of the day, I could have got myself into an argument very easily, quite easily, but in my head, I knew that that was not the right thing to do, and I don't really like to get into conversations with people, to be honest, when they're kind of being like that. What I've learnt in hindsight is just to try and step away from the situation and put myself in that person's shoes, and then if they persist to continue to be a horrible person to me, then I just won't reply. Bipolar is inside of me and will remain inside of me until the day that I die. That's nothing to attention seek about at all. But if I can make everybody else with bipolar disorder out there feel a little bit less alone and a little bit less isolated, to be insulted in that way is so undermining and so disrespectful to every single thing you have ever had to deal with because of your bipolar disorder, and to every single obstacle you have had to overcome, every single mood swing, every single terrifying experience, and every single overwhelming urge to erase yourself from the planet. All of these mixed feelings, feeling so agitated you don't know what to do with yourself, so much energy you can't sleep for days. Mental illness isn't something to gloat about, and I'm just going to focus on the people that do care about my well-being, and I hope that each and every single one of you also does the same thing. Make sure to check the links out down below because they're really interesting if you want to know me a little bit better or you want to know more about bipolar disorder. Bye!